Today, I'm going to be breaking down Till We Die by Sarkodie featuring Ruger, where, as usual, I'm going to be talking you through the various elements that I'm picking up on as we go through it. Couple of key moments within the track to pay attention to. Firstly, we've got the drum pattern, especially on the kick drum, really interesting. Number two is the conflicting rhythms that we get within the chorus. And number three is the contrast that the track provides between the two artists, and not just because Sarkodie is rapping and Ruger is singing. And we are going to be talking about these things plus more in today's video. Right, let's get into some new music.
Are you serious? You are leaving me? What else? You are joking, right? Stop playing with me. You see, for my life, nobody did do me right. And I won't take it lightly. What the fuck you say? Yeah, I know I fucked your bestie mistakenly. Now I know you are vexing. All this money I'm flexing. It's only you I want to spend all with me. Baby girl, I swear I just want you to do what's best for the team, my baby. Stop the cop, let me tell you straight up, maybe we're in this to it.
Okay, right, going to stop it there because we have just hit the chorus, so let's cover off what we've had in the intro and in the first verse. So before we go ahead and get into any of the instruments, I want you to pay attention to the variation that we have within the kick drum. So what you notice is that when the kick drum first comes in, we get a 1-2. Then as we progress on, we get 1-2-3, and then in the next lot we get 1-2-3-4. And that variation, particularly around the 3 and the 4, continues throughout the entirety of that first verse. Now, another thing that you'll notice both in the intro and in the verse, we actually have no bass. And, you know, that kind of makes sense because we have leaked over to the chorus here so we can hear that the synth bass comes in, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, definitely no bass in the intro and in the first verse. Now, another thing to pay attention to is Ruger's late entry. Like, there is literally almost a whole bar that goes past before he actually comes in. And when he does come in, he comes in on the offbeat. Now, another thing to notice about Ruger's vocals is when he does come in, we literally get, at least within the first segment of the verse, we literally get like one vocal every bar. Right, so that's quite a significant amount of spacing. It's not the typical amount of spacing that you would hear within a track, but I do think that it works well, and in fact I think it complements the track really well as well. And then in terms of feel, vibe and all that sort of stuff, I really like the use of the guitars, both in the intro and how they're driving the melody throughout the track. But I really like the use of those kind of pitched up vocals. So in the intro, you hear that they're dumbed down. They've got a filter applied to them. They're kind of at the back of the mix. But then as we kind of progress on, they become much more present. And they are used really well, especially within the second segment of Ruger's verse. It just kind of brings something additional to the track, a nice extra layer. So let's go back and let's listen. Right, so here the guitars. Yeah. You can hear the pitched up vocals there. There, right? Now listen to the kick drum, the variation.
Are you serious? You are leaving me? What else?
Ruger's spacing, listen.
Stop playing with me. You see, for my life, nobody did do me right. And I won't take it lightly. What the fuck you say? Yeah, I know I fucked your bestie mistakenly. Now
right, picked it up now.
All this money I'm flexing. It's only you I want to spend all with me. Baby girl, I swear I just want you to do what's best for the team, my baby. Stop the cop, let me tell you straight up, maybe we're in this to it.
That bass bangs.
Maybe I'm willing to try. In this to it. What else?
Money can't change me. No other woman go fit take.
Okay, right, so we have just leaked over into Sarkodie's verse, but let's cover off some of the key elements in the chorus. So the main thing I want you to actually pay attention to within the chorus is the conflicting rhythms that we've got. Right, so you pay attention to the synth bass, which absolutely bangs, by the way. I think they've done enough with the synth bass where it kind of brings something different to the track, provides an additional kind of sense of rhythm, but it's not too much where it actually takes away from the feel and the vibe that's been set in the intro and the first verse. So banging touch with the synth bass. But listen to the synth bass, listen to the percussions, because what you'll notice is that when we hit that chorus, we actually get some drummer boy snares in there. So they're like really, really fast snares. Now, when you mix the snares and the synth bass, couple that with the other elements of the track, especially around the vocals, you'll notice that the rhythms actually conflict. If you can kind of separate them, right, you'll notice that they conflict. But it's a good example from the production team of how you can have multiple or conflicting rhythms individually, but when they're brought together they work really, really well. And conflicting rhythms is definitely like a staple of Afro beats. Don't get me wrong, it does apply to other genres as well, but it's definitely 100% a cornerstone within Afro beats music. Now, the second thing to pay attention to is when we hit the chorus, we actually get an additional layer of keys come in, right? And, you know, you have to listen quite hard because they're not obvious. But again, it's this additional layer mixed with the synth bass and the change in the percussions that's really helping to kind of elevate that chorus. And then the final thing I want you to pay attention to is just what happens with the vocal layering. So you'll notice that on words like die and try, you begin to hear that vocal layering and some subtle harmonies being applied to Ruger's vocals. So again, just a way to bring emphasis to those particular words or kind of key phrases. So let's go back and let's listen. Listen to the conflicting rhythms. Like layers there.
What else? Yeah. Money can't change me. No other woman go fit take me. A man able me so but nothing go fit shake me. A yeah that you swan, nobody for wake me. Please. Mami di me do. Me share money wabale yeah mami be a mini so. A rama forgetting a mini baby caught. I saw Roger fans of a woman in so cause me boom in here. What's in my seer? Also me more when him say I'm a tear. They need a form. When him my dear. Me home for me I will buy him and ya home tear. Make a sort in a be boom. When him our rear. When mama rear who you not done him in a chair. Say me come down for who I say man. You make us say you're not my dear. What else?
Right, absolutely bangs, man. And by the way, I don't know what it is with YouTube, man. It's pranging out. Like, used to be able to just hit the space bar, it would stop the track, but for some reason, it's just not working. Let's talk about what we've heard within Sarkodie's verse before we then go on and listen to the rest of the track. So the first thing that we notice here is that very much like Ruger, Sarkodie also comes in really, really late. The only difference is, at least as far as I can hear, is he doesn't come in as late as Ruger, and he actually comes in on beat rather than off beat. Now, the second thing to pay attention to is the use of ad-libs, and this is quite common within hip-hop and rap music where they will use ad-libs in between vocals, but also sometimes just kind of layer them over the top, and this is exampled within Sarkodie's verse here. Now, the third thing, and this is the main one for me, is the contrast that Sarkodie's verse brings. And it's not just because he's rapping, but it's the switch up in language that also facilitates that. You know, in Ruger's verse and chorus, it's in English, but we switch over to Sarkodie and he gives us the mix of English. And I believe it's Chi. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but let me know in the comments if I have. But either way, we get that switch up in language, and that really helps to provide that contrast. And then the third and final thing to pay attention to is the use of those pitched up vocals. And what we notice is that when we go over to Sarkodie's verse, they're being used much more frequently than what we've heard in the track up to this point. So let's go back and let's listen.
In
listen to how late Sarkodie comes in.
Money can't change me.
There.
No other woman go fi take me.
Listen to the ad-libs.
Shake me. Hey, that you swan, nobody for wake me. Please. Mami di me do.
Right, switch up in language now.
Baby caught. I saw Roger from the woman in so cause me boom in here. What's in my seer? Also me more. When him say I'm a tear. They need a form. When him my dear. Me home from here. What about him and your home tear? Make a sort tin up a boom. When him my warrior. When mama read who you not done him in a chair.
Transition.
Boom.
Synth bass back in now.
Maybe I'm willing to try.
Drummer boy snares.
What else?
Transition again.
Baby, just give it up. I've had enough. All the things you do when you're calling my bluff. Waiting at the need, it's all the above.
Baby, you should know that you're fucking up.
Yeah, that bangs.
So woman min come cry me de be fano. Gena wo beto no hunti na me jano. Yeah, me sabe kano me jam and the crowd go tear chain from here to Bombay.
Pitched up vocals there.
Make we link up, smoke we on the highway.
Anyway, you did
I'm what you for make a seat up, and yes I be some way.
Only you did brighten my day.
I know so you did try go solo, but I'm sorry.
Maybe we're in this to die.
Okay, right, I'm going to stop this really quickly. So just to kind of cover off the final verse, we're not going to go into it too much because there's a lot of repeated themes. But just the main thing that I really like here is the use of both artists within this verse. Yes, it is predominantly being led by Sarkodie, but what we hear is Ruger coming in every now and again just to kind of fill out those vocals. And I think it's a smart move because what we've had is verse 1 and verse 2 where they've kind of been individual. So now to bring them together at the back end not only brings something different to the track, but it really drives home that whole kind of collaboration piece. So let's go back just a few, right? And let's just listen to that.
Gena wo beto no hunti na me jano. Yeah, me sabe kano me jam and the crowd go tear chain from here to Bombay.
Fly you first class.
There you go.
Make we link up, smoke we on the highway.
Anyway, you did
I'm what you for make a seat up, and yes I be some way.
Only you did brighten my day.
I know so you did try go solo, but
Right, going into the final chorus. Boom. Harmonies. Ad-libs.
Stop playing with me.
yeah.
Right, outro. Okay, that's it for me. If you want to see more breakdown and analyses videos, there'll be things popping up on the screen right now. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I will see you in the next one.